Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Checkride Chat. My name is Wally,
Hey, I'm Jason.
and we're back in the same state together. So we're going to talk today a little bit about sectionals. We did sectionals a couple weeks ago, and it was really popular. What you guys are telling us is that you want more teaching. And so we're going to give you what you want. We're going to give you more teaching. By the way, we've hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yep.
I don't know
Thank
what
you
that
very
means.
much.
I'm waiting for a T-shirt or something, but I don't know. I don't know. I got an email that says, "Hey, that's a big deal. You got 1,000 subscribers."
Yeah, my kid said the same thing, so I don't fully know what that means, but keep the likes, keep the follows coming.
Yeah. So, anyway, again, all you out on TikTok, thanks for all the watches or views, whatever we call it on TikTok. But anyway, so we're having a good time doing this. We're going to keep it going, and so today we're going to talk a little bit about sectionals. We're back to we're not really diving into the ACS today, but we've picked a few little cities or towns, airports on the sectional we're going to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is one thing that there seems to be a lot of confusion about, especially with the private applicants, is heading and course. So, we want to go from point A to point B. What is the difference in heading and course? And very simply put, the difference in heading and course is wind. Okay, so let's say we want to go to an airport that is the course is 030 degrees. So from here to there is 030 degrees. The course is going to be 030 today. It's going to be 030 tomorrow. It's going to be 030 next year, sort of. And we're going to jump in on how that may change. But the course is always the course. Now, the way we have to point the airplane is going to be different depending on the wind. So if today we had an extreme left crosswind, we're going to have to turn the airplane to the left, so it may take 25 degrees to maintain that 030 course. Tomorrow we may have a wind out of the east, and we may have to point the airplane at 035 to fly that course of 030. I used to ask my applicants on check rides, this was kind of I won't say a trick question, but very few people got it right. I would say, can you tell me 3 situations where heading and course are the same? And the easy one is 0 wind. Okay, if there's no wind, heading and course are going to be the same. But the other 2 are an exact direct headwind or a direct tailwind. Direct headwind, direct tailwind. And again, the fact that you know the answers to that, I don't think makes you a better pilot. But I would ask it. So let's talk about old school plotting a course on a paper map, which most of you have probably never done. You probably never will. I doubt I ever will again.
It's actually becoming increasingly difficult to. The flight schools don't supply them anymore.
Right.
You can get them on Amazon. You can get them on the aviation supply stores. But back in the day, it was the little pilot shop had all of it, and you would have to go and get updated sectionals all the time. Sectionals, tack charts, all that good stuff. AFDs.
Yeah, and pretty much the FBOs that you
they would always have it.
Yeah, you go in and
it's not anymore.
Right. So getting a paper sectional is just not a thing anymore. But anyway, what you would do is you draw a line from A to B, and then you would get out your plotter, and you would figure out what the course was. Now, what number came up? So let's say we came up with that 030. Typically, that was what was called your true course. If you look at the sectional, and I'll show an example right here, we have what's called isogonic lines. And I ask this on my private and my commercials, what these lines are. And I don't care that you know the term isogonic.
And they are not isometric.
Right.
Very different, very different.
Most people will tell me those are isogonic lines, but if you say they're lines of variation, I'm perfectly fine with lines of variation.
That's the definition of what an isogonic line is.
Right. So if we look at this, like I'm looking right here around Lufkin, Texas, and we have an isogonic line just west of the airport, and it says that is 1 degree, 1 degree 30 minutes, a degree and a half. Call it 1.5 degrees. What is that? Well, the difference, that line is the difference in the magnetic North Pole and the true North Pole. So let me give you an example. If we're sitting here in Houston, Texas, let's take New York City. New York City has two baseball stadiums. They have the real one, Yankee Stadium, and then they have the other one where that other team plays called Citi Field. I think the Mets play there.
And if you're from the South, nobody cares about either.
Nobody cares, right, right. But anyway, so if I were to sit here in Houston and draw a line to Yankee Stadium and draw a line to Citi Field, the difference in that line would be minuscule. You would barely be able to see the difference in those two lines. If we're sitting across the river in Newark, New Jersey, and we drew a line to Yankee Stadium and a line to Citi Field, the difference, the angle of those two lines would be significant. Okay, so down here in the South, we've got 1.5 degrees of variation. If you get up towards the poles, the North Pole, again, the magnetic North Pole and the true North Pole are not co-located at the same place. They're not perfectly at the same place. There's a difference in them. And up in Alaska, if you look at the variation, it is significant. It's,
it is.
30, 40 degrees variation.
I always tell people, out in like in the Texas area, Houston especially, we're very spoiled.
Yes.
Variation is single digits. Field elevation is a couple hundred feet, so there's not a lot of movement for us. I'm not saying do it, but if you forget to use variation, 1 degree, okay.
Yeah.
But like Wally's saying, New York, Boston, Anchorage, go look up there at isogonic lines. They're double digits. That will make a significant change in your heading.
Yes. So when we plot that course, we come up with a magnetic course. And then we have to add or subtract variation. And we use the little phrase of east is least and west is best. So if we come up with a true course of 30 degrees down here, we would subtract easterly variation. So we would subtract 1.5 degrees. Call it 1, call it 2, you pick it. So our magnetic course now is either 28 or 29, whatever you want to use. Now we have a course. We have a magnetic course. Now I'm going to tell you this. If you use ForeFlight and you put your little fingers on the map like most of us are going to do to come up with our course from point A to point B, ForeFlight already builds in that variation.
Yeah.
So you do not have to make variation adjustments if you are using ForeFlight. Just make sure when you are looking at the number, if it says MC, that stands for magnetic course. TC would be true course, okay? So just make sure you're not reapplying the variation. Again, down here, if you apply 1 twice, it's not that big a deal. Up in Anchorage, if you're 30 degrees variation, now you're 60 degrees, it's gonna probably get you lost. So now we add or subtract wind. And now we have magnetic heading. So we have gone from true course, maybe we started with magnetic course, and we've applied the wind, and now we have magnetic heading. Now, how do we pick our altitudes? We pick our altitudes based on magnetic course. And a lot of times applicants will get confused. They'll say it's based on magnetic heading. Think of it this way. Let's say you fly to a place that is it's 5 degrees. The course, the magnetic course from here to there is 005 degrees. So you would use an odd, and if it's VFR, odd plus 500. If it's IFR, you just use an R. You'd use 3,000, 5,000, 7,000. An odd altitude. If today we had a severe wind out of the west and we needed to make that left heading correction to compensate for the wind. And let's say today it was a 10-degree wind correction angle, so we're 355. It probably doesn't make sense that one day you'd fly to this place at 5,500 feet, but tomorrow, because of the wind, you'd fly at 4,500 or 6,500 feet. So the altitude, the correct altitude, is based on course. Okay, so I don't know if that helps or not, but anyway. So there's just some things about, something that is on a sectional and what that's all about. Again, down here where our variation is,
everything's minimal. We're spoiled.
We are. We're very much spoiled. So let's take a look at a couple of airports.
All right, so he's gonna pull up a graphic. We'll pull up Lufkin. That's the city of Lufkin. That's the identifier is Lima Fox Kilo. Technically, the name is Angelina County. But if you look at that, let's play the airspace game. So if you're standing on the ground at Lufkin Airport, what airspace are you in? And so, first thing that pops out is you got that big shady magenta. But if you look just a hair closer, you have that dashed magenta, which is a circle directly around Lufkin. That dashed magenta is what? It's echo to the surface. So if you're standing on the ground at Lufkin Airport, you are in echo. Now let's play the rocket ship game and go straight vertical. So you are in echo at the surface. Where does echo end? Because there's nothing above it, airspace supersedes one another. The next airspace on top of this is actually alpha. Where does alpha start? It's 18. So if you're staying on the ground in Lufkin, you are in echo all the way to 18,000 feet. Then you go into alpha. Alpha is 18 to flight level 600. And then most people know, and I say, well, what's above alpha? Above alpha, so above 60,000 feet, is echo again. It goes back to echo. Is your Cessna going to go up there? No, it's kind of just food for thought, fun to know. So zooming back in, let's go back in. There's just a little bit to the west, southwest, there's a little lake, Lake Dieball. So you're now swimming in Lake Dieball. What airspace are you in? And if you're just outside that dashed magenta, and then the next thing you see is the shady magenta, so you're outside of it, you are now in Gulf. You are Gulf until 700 feet. At 700 feet, you become echo, you turn into echo, and then it's rinse and repeat. So swimming in Lake Dieball, you're in Gulf to 700, you're in echo 7 to 18, you're in alpha 18 to 60, and you're back in echo above alpha. So echo and Gulf are the hard airspaces because they're not overly defined. I would say Bravo, Alpha is not defined, but everybody knows Alpha starts at 18. Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, those are easy. You look for the lines. You know what colors you're looking at. The dimensions, Bravo always changes. But Delta has standard dimensions and altitudes. Charlie has standard dimensions and altitudes. But the altitudes are always depicted within those circles. So zooming out a little bit from Lufkin, let's go again. Let's keep going kind of that southwest. There's a little town, Groveton, Trinity County. So 33 Romeo is the identifier. What airspace are you in? I'm standing on the runways at Trinity County. You are now in Gulf. Gulf until what? And a lot of people spit out 14.5, right? Yes, I understand that, but in this scenario, no. It's Gulf until 1200, and then it's echo from 1200 to 18, and then rinse and repeat like what we said before. Everywhere in the continental U.S., I can't say everywhere; those words are bad. 95% of the lower 48 of the continental U.S. echo starts at 1,200 feet, unless another airspace is present. It's a very good way to do that. Another way to play this, if we go back up to, well, that's a bad, I can't find one. But let's go just north of Lufkin. There's little towers. So there's two sets of towers. One says 1361, 1019, and then a little bit below that, one will say 670 and 349. So what are all those numbers, and what is the difference between those two towers? Well, the 1361, you've got the big flashies. Those are high-intensity towers. Those are your big, massive strobe lights. 1361 is MSL. 1019 is AGL. So a good way to think of it is, it's a little bit morbid, but it's more of a joke. 1361 is what your altimeter is going to say when you hit that tower, and you're going to fall 1,019 feet to the ground.
Yeah.
So that's one way to think about it. It's make a joke out of it, if you will.
And the bigger number is probably the one that you care about.
Correct.
That's what you're looking at on your altimeter.
Looking really close to Lufkin Airport and then due west, there's a big 1.5, and then another one a little bit west, it's 1.1. What are those numbers? Those are maximum elevation figures. What does that mean? That means if you're in that quadrant of lat long, if you are at that altitude, you should be clear of all obstacles and terrain for that matter. So how do they come up with that number? They take the highest obstacle, round it to the nearest 100, and then they will add another 100.
Round it up.
Round it up, sorry. So they're going to round up to the nearest 100 and then add another 100. So you can have anywhere on, and this is VFR, so your see and avoid is your eyes. Right. You should be able to see everything. This is not IFR. So you're going to have anywhere from 101 foot clearance all the way to 199 foot clearance.
Right.
That's not a lot, but it's enough. And again, you're defaulting to your eyes for see and avoid.
Yeah, so this 1500, there's something in that quadrant that's between 1301 and 1400. So 1301 rounded up to 1400. Plus 100 would be 1,500.
And guess what?
1399.
It's that tower that we were just looking at. It's the 1361.
Yeah.
So round up 1361. That's 1,400. Add another 100. There's your 1,500 max elevation figure.
Yeah.
That is how they came up with that stuff.
Right.
Let's do this. So we've talked about a little bit of airspace. Let's talk about differences. Let's look at Groveton and then Houston County Airport, DKR. What, not airspace, we're not talking airspace, so clearly one is golf to 1,200 feet, one is golf to 7, and then echo above. What is the difference between those airports?
Well, one has notches and one doesn't.
One has little tick marks, one doesn't. The one with tick marks, that means there's services. Typically, those services are 9 out of 10 it's fuel. However, it could mean there's maintenance also, but there are definitely services. Sticking to that just a little bit more, there's obviously the star on top. What does that mean? That's a beacon. There's a rotating beacon there. Let's compare what is the difference between Groveton, Trinity County, and go due north. It says it's a private field, hog field. And the answer is not. One is private and one is public. That's not what I'm looking for. What is the difference between those two fields?
Probably the runway surface.
It's runway surface. So if it's an enclosed circle and you can see the actual runway depiction, that means it's paved. It's hard surface. The other one is other than hard. It could be gravel, it could be dirt, it could be grass. It's just other than a hard surface.
And just to jump on that, these private grass fields or non hard surface airports like Hogfield, in general, they do not make good checkpoints. They're hard to find.
You better be intimate with the area to see that, and you will fly right over those.
Yeah.
That is a very true statement. All right, let's zoom back into Lufkin. There's a big blue circle around Lufkin. What's that?
That would be a VOR.
So I've heard compass rose. That's not incorrect, but with every compass rose, a compass rose is around a VOR. So the compass rose, I'm really looking for. That's a VOR. So tell me about the VOR, and it's you just go find the little box. The name of the VOR is Lufkin. The identifier, let's start with the frequency first. The frequency is 12.1. If you decide to ID that, it's going to ID in Morse code the dash, the beep, 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 beep. That is the Morse code. And if you look at that Morse codes are the letters L, the Morse code letter F, Morse code letter K. That is, for those of you that are old school Navy and Coast Guard, and you know Morse code, that's what that is. That's what it spells out. What is that CH58? We've discussed this on a previous one.
Yeah.
That's military. That's a channel. We don't really use that. So you can't even tune that in to any of our nav comms. Here's one thing. Can you tune in, Wally? Can you tune 12.1 into your comm?
No.
No, it won't even let you. So if you are, why won't this frequency get dialed into my comm? It's because it's not allowed. It's too low.
Right.
Conversely, you cannot type a comm frequency into a nav box, into a nav radio. So there's comm frequencies and nav frequencies. So this 12.1 goes in and IDs. You ID it, listen to the Morse code, everything's honky-dory. Here's one, and we had a discussion on this. If you have a 530, if you have a G1000, any of them, I guess you could say a 650 does it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Any of the modern stuff, that is a legal ID. So when you tune in a frequency, these modern nav systems will show you LFK in green, most likely.
Yeah.
That is a legal ID. That
Yes.
nav is IDing that navigational aid for you.
Yeah.
So I get it. I will use that as it pretty much. I can't ding you if you didn't ID it, especially if you verbalized it.
Right.
But I will say this: you're a private pilot, you're an instrument pilot, a commercial pilot, whatever. You're not only ever going to fly that one particular. You're not a private pilot that can only fly G1000s, right? You're a private pilot. So a little bit of old school backup habit. Get in the habit. It is a good idea to always identify, always listen for the ID. You're building a habit pattern because you might not always be in that aircraft,
Right.
in that same thing that does it for you.
And know how to ID. There have been so much awkward silence on check rides where the applicant you're probably tuning. Well, you are tuning one of the nav radios, and make sure you know whether you got nav 1 or nav 2.
That's a big
and
one.
make sure you select the appropriate one on your audio panel. You're probably going to have to push the button for nav 1 or nav 2. And I know I want to say on the 430s and 530s, there's a little thing on the volume.
Make sure you ID.
It says pull for ID or either push for ID. You got to do something. So if you just select the appropriate nav radio on the audio panel, you're going to sit there for days waiting for that Morse code. And all you got to do is pull it or push it. I forgot which one it is. But it says it right there.
Kings are pull. I think Garmin's are push.
Yeah.
You can have an old KX155. That's actually a rotate.
Yeah.
Here's a better way to put that. Be familiar with your avionics.
Yes.
And just because it's the same airplane on Checkride day, if you haven't flown those avionics, same plane, different avionics on Checkride day, don't risk it. The second you get in that plane, you're on the hook for anything in that airplane. So you might be Chuck Yeager, ace pilot, but if you can't ID, if you can't tune and take me to this VOR, et cetera, that's a demonstrated knowledge. So it's keep that in the back of your head. Be familiar with your avionics.
Yeah.
Zooming back in, what are those numbers on top of the VOR box, and what's the words below the VOR box? What on earth are those?
That would be flight service station.
Who, Wally? Who is the flight service station? What are they?
They're our weather guys.
They're your weather guys. When you call 1-800-WEATHER BRIEF, you are calling the flight service station. Those are synonymous. When you file a flight plan, that flight plan goes to the flight service station, which is 1-800-WEATHER BRIEF. The reason there's a frequency there and the name is below it, a high percentage, you can almost remember flight service stations. You can basically always dial in 222. That's a pretty good default to find a flight service station. But you call up on that frequency, they can answer any question you want. They are essentially an extension of, they are flight planning. They can answer any weather system question. They can give you phone numbers. They can read off anything you want to. If your iPad, your ADS-B in dies, if they are an excellent source. And I encourage you, and I encourage the flight instructors, call them up one day.
Yes.
iPads and ForeFlight, unfortunately, a lot of stuff has been automated, and these guys and girls are kind of getting phased out. They are a wealth of knowledge. We have talked about this. They are pretty much meteorologists at your disposal. Use them, call them, get their 2 cents on anything you want to ask, for that matter.
And you call it radio. In this case, you dial on 122.2 and you'd say Montgomery County Radio, and they'll come back and they'll answer. You know, we've had a rash of fires here in North Houston, so we have temporary flight restrictions popping up. Well, they're popping up hourly almost. I was on just a Checkride the other day where we took off, and there were not any. But in the middle of the Checkride, all of a sudden, we both had on our ForeFlight a new TFR. I mean, only went up to about 1,000 feet or so.
It's just to keep away from firefighting ops.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the sectional. Just zooming out, kind of Lufkin, you've got these yellow patches on a sectional. What are those yellow patches?
Those would be densely populated areas.
Yeah, high dense area, densely populated areas. That's also at altitude or at a higher altitude. That also is what the city looks like at night. So, which typically organically leads into, nighttime, cool. So if you're flying along and you're going into Trinity County, that one airport, how do you know where the airport's located? It's pitch black outside. You can't see it.
Yeah.
Well, that little star on top tells me there's a beacon.
Yep.
So really, what beacon are you looking for? What color is that? And it's going to be a white and a green.
Yeah.
And I'll typically pan over. It's very easy in Texas. There's military bases everywhere. I'll go find a military base. You can go down to San Antonio, I think at Randolph, and it says Randolph RND, or it says Randolph AFB, parentheses RND. And so right then and there I go, what is that AFB? And they go, that's the identifier. Incorrect. The identifier is always in parentheses. So what is AFB?
Air Force Base.
Air Force Base.
Yeah.
Can you land there?
If you have to.
So typical answer is no, but if you have permission, yes. If it's an emergency, absolutely. What is that? How it's pitch black and there's San Antonio's right next to it. There's another airport right next to that, civilian airports. How do you know, how can you tell that's the military airport? What does that beacon look like? Right?
Right. Well, there's
it's a green to white.
Green, yeah.
And then I'll go up and I'll pan to, excuse me, I'll pan up to Colleen. I'll pan to Colleen. And there is, if you look at it, AHP. What's that? And this is not nitpicking. This is just almost a fun part. That's Army helicopter.
Yeah.
Right? So what is a helicopter? What does a heliport beacon look like? So a civilian heliport beacon is white, amber, green.
Okay.
A military helicopter is green, white, white, amber.
All right. I just learned something. I did not know that.
So if you ever on learning something, you kind of learn something. I've never seen one.
Yeah.
We were going up to, I think, Lubbock or somewhere West Texas. It was midnight, and I saw that beacon, and I was like, what is that?
Wow.
It was, and I've never seen, they're not common.
Yeah.
But it's good things to know. And then I'll typically close my nighttime spiel with, so there it is, you see the beacon, you know there's pilot controlled lighting. How do you turn on the lights? And they'll be like, well, I'll click the mic. And I said, well, how many times? And I'm probably going to get flack for this, but in a high density area or in a lot of training, more often than not, the lights are already going to be on. The runways are already going to be lit. But if it's pitch black, how do you turn on the lights? All you see is the beacon. The answer is 7 times. I want to get to, so there's 3 intensities of lighting. There's high, medium, and low. I want to get to a low intensity. How do I get to that? The answer is 7, then 5, then 3. Yeah. You have to cycle through it. And where it gets tricky and funny is if there's a lot of flight training going on and everybody's making their pattern calls at night, it doesn't know who's keying the mic, right, but it's just keying the mic. So if you kind of pay attention and there's a couple people in the pattern, you're going to notice the runway lights might kind of start going up and down, because it doesn't know who's doing what. All it recognizes is keys. Right. So little itty bitty things like that.
Let's take a look at one more area while we're over in the Killeen area. Let's go north of that, just west of Waco, Texas. We have a prohibited area, and it says P49.
What does prohibited mean?
Prohibited means don't do it. Prohibited, you can't do it. Prohibited. Growing up, my father used to tell me that a lot.
The definition is in the word. Prohibited. Yes, do not go there.
Yeah. You know, we have restricted airspace. Can we fly in restricted airspace?
The definition's in the word.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. There might be some restrictions. I ask my applicants, I ask almost everybody on a Checkride, because this is close to us, and a lot of my cross countries go in this general direction. I say, okay, we're flying from Houston to wherever, and we're at 4,500 feet. Can we fly over prohibited P49? And I would say 85% of the time I get the answer I get is absolutely not. We cannot fly over it. And then I will say, okay, well, how high does P49 go? And then they'll say it goes to 4,900 feet. And that is
for 49?
Right. P49 is just like Interstate 20, Interstate 35, I-20, I-35, I-95, whatever. It's just a designation. It's what they named it, P49. If you're using ForeFlight, and if you tap on P49 at about the 4 o'clock position, a little dialog box is going to come up, and we're going to show it.
Press and hold.
Yeah, and it says right there, P49, surface to 2,000 MSL. And so, going back to the original question, can we fly over this at 4,500 feet? The answer is absolutely
Heck yeah,
yes.
you can.
And
don't go in it.
Right.
Like everything has dimensions. It's more airspace, and verify the dimensions.
Yeah. A lot of people would say, well, we could, but I wouldn't. And I said, well, okay, that's your prerogative.
That's your
pilot in command. But there's no...
Here, let's close with this. We're going to go one more. So, and it's a TFR, because we were talking about TFRs. Okay. Wally, can you fly in a TFR?
Maybe.
That's the answer. Maybe. How do you know what you can and can't do? You got to do a long hold tap, like press and hold. It's going to come up. So San Angelo is a great example. Because for me, a lot of if I have them cross country up to kind of Denver area, they might roll into San Angelo.
Yeah.
So San Angelo has a TFR just a little bit to the southeast. And so same exact question, can we fly into this TFR? No. It's a temporary flight restriction. That right there, restricted, it's temporary flight restriction. There's dimensions, there's criteria, you got to read about it, right? So if you press it and hold it and just scroll down, what does this sound like to you? So this is total VFR, there's not a cloud in the sky for 1,000 miles. San Angelo, temporary flight, must be on a discrete code assigned by an ATC facility.
Okay,
we're squawking something. Aircraft must be squawking that discrete code at all times while in the TFR. Aircraft entering or exiting the TFR must remain in two-way communications. What does that kind of sound like to you?
sounds like IFR.
So, well, I'd say flight following.
Flight following, okay.
I would say flight following. I would say you're going into San Angelo, you're talking to tower.
Right.
They gave you a code, you're talking to them. Next. You don't have to steer around it. Right. Moreover, it says it's active 3,500 feet to 18,000 feet.
Okay.
So again, if you're at 3,000 feet, do you need to go in? Are you gonna go in it?
Yeah.
Probably not. This is where it gets really tricky. If you're at 3,000 feet, the elevation's at basically 2,000 feet. You're kind of low at that point. I don't think you want to scud run. You're better off just calling up and getting a code and going from there. Or if you're IFR, again, does this even adhere to you? No. They're going to vector you in it or they're going to vector you around it, whatever the discretion of the controlling facility might be.
Right.
So.
All right.
Good. So just a little bit of things, a little bit of airspace, a little bit of not so much whys, but if you want to learn airspace, the whole rocket ship game, that's kind of the way to go. It's very easy to look, oh, that's echo. But when you have to start layering it three-dimensionally, I think that's when the light bulbs on airspace comes into play.
And if you don't know a lot of this stuff, heck, what was the heliport, the military heliport thing? I've been flying, 44 years, and I just learned something today. So, you just keep on learning, just keep on learning, and you're not going to know everything. I will probably forget that tomorrow. I've already forgotten the colors, but I know there are a bunch of colors in there.
So they're pretty colors.
Anyway.
So, but that's just, so on that, you're going to learn something every day. No flight is perfect. No Checkride is perfect. We probably say the same thing in the opening spiel. Perfection is not the standard. We know you're going to get things wrong. We know what do you do? How do you take it away? How do you not act? That's not what I'm trying to say, but nothing's going to be perfect. Just keep learning. There's always something that somebody's going to know that you won't.
I did a Checkride 3 weeks ago, and I made mistakes on it, and I passed.
Oh, your Checkride.
Yeah. So, mistakes will be made, and really, you show us a lot by how you manage your mistakes.
It's a briefing item for me. If you think you're doing bad, or if you know you got something wrong, Checkride advice: learn to compartmentalize very, very quickly. Yeah. Do not let that one thing snowball the rest of your Checkride. Learn to put that is behind you. That could be an absolute discretionary item. We may not have seen it. We may not think anything of it. But if that's what's kind of eating you up inside, it's going to affect your entire ride.
I think one trait that sometimes is not great for pilots sometimes is someone who considers themselves a perfectionist. I make the joke that I screwed up so much as a little kid that I'm used to making mistakes. I learned how to deal with them. So if you make a mistake, let it roll off your back and keep moving forward. Is that enough?
I think that's good. We'll figure stuff out. Keep writing with suggestions. We've definitely had some emails on some suggestions. This is one of them. So we kind of went with that to keep going forward. Yeah. So give us suggestions. What do you want to hear? What do you want to learn? Yeah. What do you want to see? And we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah. thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, reach down there and hit that. Let's go for 2,000. Maybe that's when we get the T-shirt. Is at 2,000? Anyway, that's it.
We'll send that T-shirt out to the 2,000th subscriber.
Yeah.
How's that?
All right, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.